All right, today we're taking a deep dive into the Theta Network and where it's at here in 2026. This is a project that's been making a ton of noise lately. We've seen some seriously exciting partnerships, but also a pretty high-profile legal drama. So what we're going to do is cut through all that hype and FUD and really give you a balanced look at what's working and what isn't. Let's get right into it. And that really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? Is Theta Network this groundbreaking innovation that's set to change everything? Or is it a really well-told story, a carefully crafted narrative? Is it more about the hype than the actual substance? That's what we're here to figure out. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the big promises for 2026. Then, we've got to talk about that whole Google controversy. After that, we'll peek under the hood at the tech. And finally, we'll see what the public actually thinks about all this. All right, first up, the 2026 promise. Let's start with the good stuff, the forward momentum. What is Theta actually promising for the future? Because honestly, early 2026 has been packed with some big news that really points to major growth, especially in that red-hot AI space. And you can see that momentum right here. I mean, check this out. On January 15th, you have Imperial College London, a huge research university, signing on to use Edge Cloud for their AI work. I mean, that's a massive stamp of approval from the academic world, right? Then you've got this big T-Drop 2.0 proposal to get more people staking, and maybe most importantly, the project is getting recognized as a real player in AI. It's not just about video streaming anymore. And looking at their roadmap, you can see where all this is heading. And let me tell you, the plan for 2026 is seriously ambitious. First quarter, they want to launch this whole economy of autonomous AI agents. Basically, think of smart programs that can go out and pay for their own computing power with Theta tokens. How cool is that? From there, they're pushing into IoT and robotics. So yeah, like we said, this is way beyond just video now. They're aiming to build the actual foundation for a totally new kind of computing. And look, they're not doing this alone. The network itself is secured by some absolutely massive names as enterprise validators. We're talking about global giants, Deutsche Telekom, Samsung, Sony, and yep, Google. A list like that gives the project some serious institutional street cred, the kind that most projects can only dream of. But that last name, Google, that's where the story gets complicated. So yeah, the Google controversy. This is the elephant in the room, isn't it? For so long, the relationship with Google was a huge part of Theta's marketing, a real cornerstone. But now it's at the center of a legal fight that makes you question what that relationship actually was. Was it a real, deep partnership, or was it all just for show? Okay, so here's the quick backstory. Back in 2020, Google Cloud did in fact join as an enterprise validator. And for years, Theta definitely highlighted that fact in their marketing. A lot. But then in 2025, a lawsuit gets filed and everything gets messy. The lawsuit basically claims that Theta blew the whole relationship out of proportion, that they misrepresented how deep it really was. And that's what's created all this uncertainty we're seeing today. So let's break this down because this is really important. What's a fact versus what's an allegation? Fact. Google Cloud did provide the infrastructure to run a validator node. But, and this is a big but, Theta staked the tokens to make it run, not Google. The allegation? That Theta took this and spun it into a strategic partnership to pump up the market's perception. The argument is that it was a huge exaggeration that misled investors. And through all of this, Google has said absolutely nothing. Okay, with all this noise from headlines and lawsuits, it's really easy to forget about the tech itself. So let's just shift gears for a minute and actually look under the hood. Beyond the story they're telling, what is actually being built? Is there real substance here to back up all the hype? Well, if you go look where the code lives on their GitHub, you see something interesting. It's not a crazy flurry of activity, but it is steady. It's consistent. You see regular updates to the core protocol to make it more stable and faster. You see work on subchains, which is all about helping it scale up. And they're improving the tools for developers. Look, none of this is super flashy front-page news, but this is the crucial, foundational stuff you have to do to build a network that can actually grow. And really, the heart of all this tech is their patented Edge Cloud system. The basic idea is pretty clever. It's a hybrid. It combines the power of big, centralized clouds with a decentralized network of nodes run by everyday people, by you. And for heavy-duty stuff like AI and video streaming, this approach can seriously slash lag and costs. The key thing here is that it's patented. This is a real, tangible piece of technology that they own, and it's built to solve a very real problem. Okay, so we've got these ambitious promises on one side, a huge controversy on the other, and some steady, under-the-radar development happening in the middle. So, How has all of this actually landed with the public? What are the community and the market saying? What's the verdict? Well, as you can probably guess, the community is pretty split. I mean, there's no clear consensus here at all. You've got this big chunk of optimists, about 45%, who are all in on the long-term vision. But then you have a really significant group of critics, 35%, who just can't get past the controversies. And then there's everyone else, kind of stuck in the middle, just watching and waiting to see which way this thing breaks. And when you dig into those two main camps, the divide is crystal clear. The optimists, they're looking at the strong technology, the patents, and the very real partnerships with giants like Deutsche Telekom. They're betting that the project's real-world usefulness for AI and streaming will win out in the end. But the critics, they just can't shake that Google lawsuit. For them, it's a sign that the project has cared more about telling a good story than being totally transparent about what's really going on. And all this division, all this uncertainty, it's had a very real effect on the market. That whole legal drama with Google, it's absolutely created a ton of short-term price swings. Whenever a new headline about the case drops, you can see the market react. It just goes to show you how much the narrative is driving things for investors at the moment. So, let's just boil this all down to the key takeaways. 1, Theta definitely has strong, legit partners involved. 2, they're making a serious push into the huge world of AI and distributed computing. 3, the actual development, the coding, is happening consistently. But 4, and this is the big one, that unresolved Google lawsuit is still just hanging over everything, casting this huge shadow of uncertainty. And all of that leaves us with one last big question to think about. The story of Theta in 2026 really makes you wonder, for any new tech, what matters more in the long run? The story you tell or the technology you actually build? It's something to chew on. Thanks for joining me for this one.